Hi, I'm João. I'm a musician from Lisbon, Portugal, and I'm the guy behind the two new Rootly ringtones. So let me contextualize you guys about how everything happened. I am from a small beach town near Lisbon called Cascais, and I've been playing music my whole life basically. At 9 years old, I was gifted my first guitar. From that guitar, I started to play other instruments as well. Then I got into recording. I've produced nowadays, I've mixed. I've also recorded my own albums. I've just released my first album actually. JJ eventually challenged me to create these two Rootly ringtones, and I'm gonna tell you guys how everything happened. So, let me tell you a little bit about the research. Most of what I did was look at scientific papers, look at the relationship between alarms, pagers, sounds, and the human mind, the brain, the alertness. But most of what I saw was referring either to alarms for people waking up in the morning, so how it affected your day, or it'd be like how a sound like a tornado siren, stuff like that, how that would affect your brain. So this is a very specific case that we're working with. We're working with almost like a modern pager. We are alerting these engineers that something's wrong, and it could be any time of the day. So it's a very specific case. So although I looked at papers in science, I also did something as simple as going on my phone and looking up at the default ringtones on an iPhone. You've heard this all your life. And so the conclusion that I came to was that following strictly a scientific path would not be the right way. And I also learned, not only here, but in college, I studied music science. And you understand that although there is a scientific side to music, the most important part is that music connects to your soul. And so I tried to keep that in mind while doing this ringtone and while experimenting. So let's talk about trials and errors now. I'm gonna bring you over to my computer. I'm gonna show you the first couple of attempts and explain what I was going for at the time. So I obviously started out very melodic, but with something that had rhythm to it and sounded somewhat alarming in a way. Of course, I tried other things. There's weird attempts like this. This is done using sequences and like modular synthesizers. But yeah, too aggressive. So I moved on. I got closer and closer to the end result. So what ended up happening here was that it was still a little too melodic or too like song-like. So what I just said is demonstrated right here. This was the first attempt of doing that one that I just showed you, and you can see it's all legato and together and big chords, and it sounds good, but it's not really an alarm, or at least it's not really this alarm that we specifically need for Rootly. So after doing this, I understood that I had to try it more staccato, more like a clock is ticking. What I started to understand was I had to simplify and just choose one scale and use that, because harmonically it can't be too complex or it starts to feel like a song and not an alarm. Most simple, basic scale, which is C. It's all the white notes on the keyboard. And then from the notes available on this scale, I started to develop a language, let's call it that, but starting to add the rhythmic thing. Has a second, minor second, which sounds wrong, but then it has a major chord which sounds right and happy. So but I put both of them together to create this sort of alarming yet positive energy. So and then the harmony that's underlying all of this in another sound is a couple of chords, and the progression sounds somewhat hopeful and is hidden behind this melody. So and that's how I did the happy one. Alright, so after finishing the more calm one, I had to go for a stronger ringtone. And I was a little bit lost at first. I didn't want to sound like one of those classic alarm clocks that you have on your iPhone or the old ones. I wanted to still be pleasant while being even more imposing. So I started by trying to get weirder sounds. Same as the other one, I tried to go for more like clock is ticking sort of vibe, and still more aggressive, but I tried for the harmony behind it to still be pleasant. Although I knew that this was still not the final one, I thought that the melody was very good because it was using the same principle and the same scale that the calm one used. As the second part was too much song-like, too much of a melody, so I had to change that part still. So we get to the final one. Same melody, but yet again a clock is ticking. Here I use a second, yet again, and then I use a diminished chord. And both of these have sort of an eerie characteristic. And accompanying these two, you have this sort of traditional alarm clock sounding glockenspiel. So all of this together. Is making sure you're gonna wake up. Sleep tight.